Hello everybody and welcome to another exciting Copperland production of Living on Gold. Now in the last series of videos, we discussed the basics of metal detectors. I hope I straightened you out about how the two types of detectors are pulse induction and oscillators, not pulse induction, not PI or VLF. And here's a little riddle. When is a VLF not a VLF? Do you know the answer? The answer is when it's an HF, or high frequency. Now we'll talk about the different frequencies and that'll kind of straighten it out for you. Now you have, like we said, the Garrett's, the Garrett pulse induction, or any pulse induction metal detector operates around the 700 to 800 pulse per second. Could be as high as 1,000 pulses per second, but very low. So the PIs are actually VLFs. They're very low frequency. Both the Infinium and the Sea Hunter operate at 750 pulses per second, and the reason is they pulse energy into the ground and then they wait to hear a return from it. The oscillator types do not. They're constantly oscillating or creating an oscillating electromagnetic field, and it's always going at any kind of frequency from 1,000 hertz to 100,000 hertz or more. Some of the new programmable machines that are coming out on the market, the little handheld, they look like a cell phone, but they're programmable metal detectors. You could program those things up to a couple hundred thousand pulses per second, or not pulses, but oscillations per second. They're basically radio oscillators, is what they are. So the Garrett's are about 750. The Bounty Hunter that we talked about, people think that's a VLF because it operates at about 6,500 to 7,000 oscillations. And so some people classify that as VLF. No, it's not. VLF operates in a range of, like I said, 750 pulses per second. If it's PI, if it's an oscillator type, you could consider up to maybe 3,000 or 5,000 oscillations or radio oscillations. Some people look at up to 10,000, so you could say that the Bounty Hunter is a VLF. But in my book, VLF ends at about 3,000 to 5,000. You go into low frequency, not VLF, but LF, would be at about 5,000 to 15,000. Then you pick up medium frequency, or MF, starts at about 15 to 20,000 and goes up to maybe 30,000 oscillations per second. Then you go into your high frequency, which is like above 50,000. And there are a lot of machines that operate between 50 and 100,000, and some that go over. I'll give you an example of the MPX operates at 12,500. So that would be like, it's a low frequency. We'd consider it low frequency, but not very low frequency. Now on the other hand, the Fisher Gemini 3 is operating at 82,000, which would put it into the high frequency range. And you've seen people on videos, they'll say, oh, I've got my Fisher Goldbug VLF. Well, which one is it? Now the old one, the old Goldbug, is operating at 71,000 cycles per second, which is not VLF. That's high frequency. And the higher the frequency you go, the finer or smaller gold you can find, whereas some of your other machines like the Bounty Hunter or whatever, operating at 6.5 to 7,000 are really good at going deeper in detecting bigger gold. Now the new Fisher gold bug operates at 19.2 thousand, which places it in the mid-range. That's not a VLF, it's not even a VLF, it's an MF, or medium frequency. Once you hit about 20,000, you're at medium frequency. Now the Mine Lab, that's a whole different story. They're all over the board with frequencies. My Garrett PI has 28 different frequencies or something, around 28 or 32, something around there. You can fine tune the frequency. The Mine Labs, like the Equinox 800, can be 5, 10, 15, 20, or 40,000 hertz, but they're starting at 5, which you could consider VLF. There's CTX 3030, has 28 different frequencies from 1 kilohertz, 1,000 cycles, to 100,000 cycles. So that one really covers the whole board of frequencies. You can fine-tune it to just about any kind of gold out there. So that covers the frequency ranges pretty well. Now, why do we want two different types of machines? Well, the pulse induction machines are good for shallow gold, deep gold. They're good for everything, at least these are. The Sea Hunter is reportedly good on like Australian beaches to find rings and watches and different things, treasures. That'll punch down to 8 or 10 inches. People going over the same area where other metal detectors were looking for treasure, they'll find treasure that they missed because they just don't get down that far. So the Sea Hunter is really good for that, pulse induction. The Garrett Infinium will go much deeper. It could be 12, 16 inches, somewhere around there. But it's really, really good in mineralized soil. It's one of the few detectors you can use on sandy beaches, salt beaches rather, because the salt is mineral. It sets off any other kind of detector depending on what minerals are in there, a lot of iron minerals, stuff like that. The Infinium is impervious to mineralized soil. You can tune it so mineralized soil does not affect it. It'll discriminate between some sort of metallic object and the soil around it. So let's just take a look at the Infinium and the Sea Hunter, give you an idea of what they sound like. Now, I've got a beef about Mine Lab. I don't like the way they sound. Every Mine Lab I've ever heard anybody use sounds like a teenage girl on her first date, if you know what I mean. It squeaks like a little teenage girl. They're going eek eek like some teenager. I don't like that sound. Mine Lab ought to do something about that sound because it just sounds like somebody getting it off. If you want a real man's machine, get a Garrett. They sound like a man's machine, not a wimpy little girl. All Mine Labs sound like wimpy girls. I'll give you an idea of what it sounds like. Okay, we've got the Sea Hunter. Now these two pulse induction machines do not have external speakers. They only have earphones, and they have earphones so that you can detect the really, really faint sounds. That's the only way to do it, is with earphones. So we'll fire this one up. 4 beeps means that the batteries are good. If it's less than 4 beeps, you have to charge your batteries. Garrett sends you a little fake gold piece so you can test your machines. That's a man's sound. Real simple, straightforward. And you've got different settings. You can set your threshold, which is how loud your earphones are. You have trash eliminator on there. You have two kinds of discrimination on the C Hunter, so you can discriminate out junk. The other one is the other PI we've got is the Infinium. One beep means I have to recharge the batteries. So that one needs recharging. Okay, now we've got, doesn't need recharging. Notice this one sounds a little different from the C Hunter. It's going low to high, which usually means a good target. And it's actually got a mark on here for pinpointing, which is right there on the coil. But again, with most metal detectors, whether they're PIs or oscillators, you have to actually swing or move the detector to get a signal. You can hear it going low to high, which usually means a good target. Now you notice that's going high to low, which means iron. High to low is usually iron. And with the Infinium, you do have discrimination, you have different frequencies. If you've got frequency interference in the field, you can tune out the frequency interference. So that's really good about the Infinium. Now, we got the Gemini 3 specifically to detect ore veins, and we did a video on that about the copper country up there. There's an area up there we like to go look for mines. The Delaware mine, there were a bunch of copper veins running under the road, and we showed in a video how you can detect a deep ore vein with the Gemini 3. And you can actually determine how deep it is. I showed that in the Delaware Road video. Now with the Bounty Hunter, it'll detect moving, if you're moving your coils over a target. That says good target. The high tone is a good target. Okay, your low target like that the low noise means an iron target. But the one thing that's really good about this particular machine is it's got a pinpointer mode. It's called all metal. Now with all metal mode, you notice I do not have to move the target. When the center of the small coil is over your target, it sounds off. See, I'm not moving the target at all, which means you do not have to swing the machine to pinpoint your target. Okay, so that gives you an idea of how the Pioneer 505 works. Now let's take a look at the MPX. So you're out there swinging your coil and you come up to a target. Put this up so you can see it better. This one's really sensitive. It goes down a good foot because of the big coil. Now, this one has, again, pinpointer function. Got to hold your pinpointer button for this to work. So you put your pinpointer, and that's Fuchsel in the other room. This goes up in tone as you're moving it on your target. So once your center coil, or your target moves into your center coil, it goes all the way up in pitch. So when you're dead center on your center target, or your center coil is dead center on the target, you get your highest pitch. Now the reason we want that, the reason for that is our new method of recovering placer targets like gold nuggets. With any of these machines, you've probably seen people doing videos. They're swinging over a target and they start digging up very quickly with their rake or whatever, and then they have to take the machine back, go over the spot again to see if they dug it up or whatever. Well, that's a waste of time and energy and effort. We're developing boring tools to work in conjunction with a pinpointer like this. So once you go into pinpoint mode, first you swing over the target like normal. Once you get a target, you hit the pinpoint button and you can locate the exact location of that target underground right in the middle of your coil. Well, then you take a boring tool, which we're building boring tools, and instead of digging with your shovel or your scoop. You bore down around the target and you extract a plug of material. Now you can only do that if you have a good pinpointing machine. Like the NPX is really, really good at pinpointing like I just showed you. You can get the target exactly in the center of the center coil. That's when you can bore down with a 2 to 3 inch boring tool, extract the plug, and your target's going to be in there. So it saves you a lot of energy and work if you've got a battery operated drill or any kind of a battery operated machine like that. You can bore down, extract your plug, and then you can sift through it or pan through that to see where your target's at. So that's the idea of new tools, new types of metal detectors, and a new method of boring for your targets, not digging them. You could waste a lot of time and energy with a pick. You could wear yourself out on one target, or you can take a battery operated drill motor. You can drill down into the target, pull it up, and you've got it. Now, what we were explaining earlier about using metal detectors and boring tools to find your gold pockets, that's something else we're going to demonstrate, is using a metal detector, a deep-seeking detector like the Gemini, to find either a pocket. It'll only detect a sizable pocket or a vein. Then you take like a 4 foot long, or even 8 feet long if you're going to go that deep, but generally 4 feet. And again, you're going to use your battery operated drill motor to drill a little 1.5 inch sample core down to the target. When you pull that core up, you basically take it and you remove the plug into an examining trough, like a piece of PVC tubing, and you have your little digital microscope, or I've actually got a really good stereo microscope I prefer using, but these are good too. Hooks up to might work with your cell phone, but at least it'll hook up to your PC, and you can use that to examine your core. You take half the core and you look through it foot by foot to see, is there gold in there and how much gold there is. You can do all your sampling just from a core or a plug. That's the way they used to look for copper up here, way before they were doing diamond drilling out in Arizona or any of the other places. They were diamond drilling up here in the copper country for new copper deposits. Well, now everybody uses coring tools to get a plug out of the earth to see if there's anything of value in there. They eventually used it quite a bit in the gold fields too, but it was used extensively out here to find copper deposits. Well, that kind of wraps things up as far as metal detectors. We've showed you the different types. We've showed you the right designation. It's PI or oscillator, not PI or VLF. That's just something electronics people or science people know. People who've not done the studying will go for the garbage marketing, which is ridiculous. It's not VLF or PI, it's oscillators or pulse induction. So that's about all for this week. Looks like we've covered everything. Like I say on all my videos, my name's not Jeff. I am not Roger from Oz. I'm Ken from Copperland. And gold turbine products which we're developing. Boring tools, the gold turbine, gold ore processor will turn you from a 90-pound gold panning weakling into a beast of a miner. So, till next time, take care, and we will see you in the gold fields. Bye for now.